perhaps Dan, you could add your thoughts around that as well, to bring in this shift that we're seeing to the servitized side of it as well. I think Kevin spoke excellently about how the technology can help that third party, and I think it applies to this conversation around servitization, outcome-based services, all of that remit. The data is showing that we're moving there, not just across this study, but across a number of studies I've done there. Talk to me about that, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you've both mentioned to this point, and you know, the technology being an absolutely critical part of that, because at the end of the day, to really make a servitization model work, you've got to make efficiencies across all of the organization. So that is about sending the resource that's not just the right resource to get the job done, but is also the right resource to be undertaking the work from an organizational perspective as well. But it's also, you know, the keeping downtime of the assets to a minimum. You know, a human person or customer is not capable of understanding the optimum conditions for a piece of equipment to be operating in, or the optimum performance of that machinery. So technology plays the important role there of being able to predict when parts are going to fail, or when a machine isn't quite operating to its peak performance, at which point we can then send someone out and anticipate that downtime and reduce the effect that has on the customer. So yeah, I mean, both in terms of the technology and the workforce, I think, you know, the shift is the way that the organisations are moving.
Yeah. Danny, is this a glimpse of what we keep talking about when we say the new normal? Are we starting to see it full?
It exactly is. So I've been recently talking to some people I know well in the industry, in three completely different sectors, and they all have they come back with the same thing, that all the equipment now is IoT enabled, because of the pandemic is very often touch free as well, right? And this IoT enabled them, it gets the data back, obviously, and to my mind, this will change the whole model of the industry, because both break fix and PPMs are inherently wasteful, right? With a break fix, you have downtime, with a PPM, you're actually in danger of over-servicing machines that don't need it, right? And there's some organizations who do that because they also make a lot of money from it. Now, with IoT, it lets you jump in and intervene when it's the right time, the most cost-effective time. Now, that's going to have huge implications, how you service stuff, but it's also going to have huge implications for the revenue profile and of traditional services, because this will effectively cannibalize what service operations do now. And therefore, you have to move to a servitization type model. And really, what I hear from people, that's what's happening. It's these services aren't perhaps rolled out yet, but they're going to be. They're still in pilot stage very often. And then, of course, that means you need technology to ingest these feeds from the sensors, from the IoT devices, and then trigger events in your service in your field service management system. And that's very much what, for instance, Microsoft and of course other vendors as well are trying to do now, because they anticipate now.
If I can add to that as well, Kris, I think, again, you know, to take to Danny's point there, I think, you know, for me, there are a number of pillars here. So it's about having a proactive engagement with the customer. It's about reducing costs, because if you're servicing a machine before it breaks, you're by definition reducing the cost of potentially that machine going awry, and equally the downtime on the customer as well. And it's also preserving that customer experience, because if you prevent the machine from going down and managing downtime, the customer is in a much happier place. Therefore, your sentiment goes up, and this company is fantastic in terms of the approach. I'll give an example. So Rolls-Royce and British Airways relationship, fantastic example of an organization that build plane engines, quite frankly, and was selling these engines to the various airlines. The change to servitization, I think, became an absolute focus for them, because they are the best place to managing those engines, to maintaining those engines. And BA's relationship with them, it's all about the flying hours of each engine. You keep those engines working for the period of which they are from a safety standpoint allowed to be in existence. But it took Rolls-Royce's revenue of just simply selling an engine to an airline from the point of sale and the maintenance that then goes with that over a period of time and subsequent replacement to a 30-year agreement to simply manage and monitor and provide services, essentially owning those engines and providing the services to keep those airplanes in the sky. Huge revenue capacity there from just a slight shift in terms of how they operate as an organization, which is far above what they would have been able to achieve just simply by selling airline engines to the various organizations out there.